When a famous socialite walks into Café Lumière, she expects nothing more than a quiet cup of coffee. But this isn't just any coffee shop. It's a playground for the elite, where exclusivity matters more than hospitality. Dressed casually in a blue hoodie and black cap, she doesn't fit the VIP mold. And the manager, Richard, makes that very clear. What Richard doesn't realize is that he has just turned away one of the most recognizable figures in high society. But what's even worse, he has no idea who's about to walk through that door next. Because in just a few minutes, his carefully curated world of luxury will start to crumble. And when it does, there will be no going back. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. Los Angeles is filled with luxurious spots, but Café Lumière is in a league of its own. Nestled in the heart of Beverly Hills, it isn't just a place to grab a coffee, it's a status symbol. With its sleek marble counters, golden chandeliers, and an air of quiet superiority, only the elite can secure a table. Movie stars, CEOs, and high-profile influencers flock there, some waiting weeks for a reservation. For the average person, stepping inside is nothing more than a fantasy. And that's exactly what our protagonist unknowingly walked into. Dressed in a black cap pulled low over her forehead, a blue hoodie, and comfortable sweatpants, she approached the cafe's grand entrance. She wasn't wearing designer sunglasses or carrying a luxury handbag. To anyone who didn't recognize her, she looked like an everyday woman out for coffee. But to Richard, the cafe's manager, she looked like someone who didn't belong. Richard prided himself on his ability to distinguish who deserved entry and who didn't. His sharp eyes scanned her from head to toe, his lips curling in disapproval. Just as she reached for the door handle, a hand shot out in front of her. Richard blocked her path, his voice cold and clipped. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this cafe caters to a selective clientele. You might be looking for the coffee shop down the street." She blinked, taken aback. She had visited plenty of upscale cafes before, but she had never been turned away outright. She smiled, keeping her voice light. "I'm sure there's a table for me." Richard let out a small, amused laugh. Doubtful. His arms crossed over his chest as he glanced around at the immaculately dressed clientele. "We only serve VIP guests. This place isn't for just anyone." Her smile didn't falter, but inside, something shifted. She had spent years navigating the highest circles of society, but she had never been judged this way based on her appearance. She wasn't angry. Not yet. Just disappointed. And Richard had no idea what mistake he had just made. In just a few minutes, Richard would realize who he had just turned away. And his world, along with the cafe's reputation, was about to come crashing down. She stood outside Café Lumière, hands tucked casually in the pockets of her hoodie, the brim of her cap casting a shadow over her face. The exclusivity of this place didn't intimidate her. She had been in far grander establishments, surrounded by people who actually mattered. But here she was, being judged by a cafe manager who had already decided she wasn't worthy. Richard, the self-important gatekeeper of the establishment, exhaled sharply, looking at her as though she were an inconvenience. "Look, lady, I don't know if you're lost, but this cafe isn't for everyone." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" Richard smirked. "Yes, we have a very exclusive clientele. Reservations are made weeks in advance." He gave her a slow, pointed look, taking in her casual outfit. "We have a certain standard." She tilted her head slightly, her smile unwavering. "And let me guess, I don't meet your standard." Richard chuckled. clearly enjoying this far too much. I think we both know the answer to that. At one of the sidewalk tables, a group of well-dressed socialites noticed the interaction. A blonde woman in oversized sunglasses and an all-white designer outfit, Tiffany Lael, smirked as she pulled out her phone. A popular influencer known for her exclusivity and condescending takes, Tiffany thrived on moments like these. She snapped a stealthy photo of the woman at the entrance and quickly posted it. Tiffany Lael official. Some woman in a hoodie is trying to force her way into Café Lumière. Some places just aren't for everyone, babe. Within seconds, likes and comments began pouring in. Tiffany let out a satisfied hum, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on the table. It's always entertaining when they think confidence can buy them class. The other women at the table chuckled softly, glancing toward the entrance with judgmental smirks. Meanwhile, oblivious to the viral post, she kept her focus on Richard. I actually have a friend who comes here all the time. Richard scoffed. Oh, let me guess. You know people, right? She smiled, unfazed. Something like that. Richard rolled his eyes. Right, because people who know people show up in hoodies and baseball caps. The small crowd inside the cafe chuckled, enjoying the unfolding moment. She stayed quiet for a moment, watching Richard with an expression so calm and unreadable that it unsettled him. Then she spoke again. How about I just order a coffee to go? Richard raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. Our coffee isn't exactly for everyone. She nodded slowly, as if considering his words. And tell me, what exactly makes your coffee so special? Richard leaned in slightly, arrogance dripping from his tone. It's about the experience, the exclusivity, the clientele. He smirked, eyeing her outfit again. The standards. She tilted her head, absorbing his words. Then she simply replied, Interesting. She wasn't angry. She wasn't flustered. She was just waiting. And Richard had no idea what was about to happen next. Tiffany refreshed her feed, delighted by the engagement on her post. The comment section was ruthless. Luxury chic 23. She probably thought money alone could get her in. There's a difference between rich and refined, babe. Elite vibes 99. Why do these people always think they deserve access to our places? Embarrassing. But then, something shifted. More comments started rolling in. Cinefan 99. Wait, isn't that socialite's name? Gossip Guru. OMG, Tiffany, you just posted about a legend. Delete this before you embarrass yourself more. Tiffany froze, staring at the screen, her stomach dropping. Slowly, she lifted her gaze back toward the entrance, really looking at the woman for the first time. The sharp jawline, the effortless beauty, the quiet confidence. Oh no. She had just tried to publicly humiliate one of the most famous figures in high society. But the real shock was yet to come. Because at that moment, someone else was on their way to Café Lumière. And when they arrived, everything would change.